Yo. Analytics off the chain, other channels not the same. Jake and Kyle, you know the name. Headliner Nation, we running the game. I'm a headliner.
What is going on, Headliner Nation? If I sound excited, it's because I am. This video today, I believe, is going to be an absolute banger. So please do me a favor, hit that like button, because I'm going to be talking about a few things today that you should not do heading into your fantasy football drafts in 2022. These things are going to be different comments, different conversations, things that we've had where people have said, I'm going to do this because, and I'm going to come back to you and say, no, this is why we're not going to do it. All right. This is great content right here. I absolutely love this because this is really based on your comments. This is based on feedback we hear. This is based on different things that our community or just random commenters out there tell us in some of our previous videos. And that's why we love doing content like this, because it's taking the things that you're talking about and it's either backing them up and saying, yeah, absolutely true, or it's saying, hey, don't do this because you could end up regretting it. But I'm also going to give away 2 draft guides with this video, so make sure you stick around and listen throughout the video, because at some point during the video, I'm going to tell you how you could be eligible to win. But I'm only going to pick 2 people if we get, boom, 1,000 likes on the video. So hit the like button right now if you want to be eligible for a draft guide, or maybe you already pre-ordered your draft guide. Well, if we pick you, we're going to refund you the money. So if you want to go pre-order your draft guide right now, head down to the link below, thefantasyheadliners.com, and you can pre-order it right now. It's going to be dropping here weekish or so. We're getting close, ladies and gentlemen. But for now, it's time to jump into it. We're going to be talking about some things that you should not do in your 2021 drafts. So hit the like button for me, because first and foremost, we're going to be talking about running back or wide receiver. I've mentioned this in some other videos, right? This season, more than any, it really feels like people are leaning more towards wide receivers in the first round than running back because of just the injuries that we've seen over the last couple of years. People are frustrated with it. They don't want to deal with it anymore. I don't know if I were you, if I would just automatically pivot to wide receiver because of that. Let's take a look at some of the scoring that we've seen from running back 1, 2, and 3 and wide receivers 1, 2, and 3 in 2021. So for running back ones in 2021, they averaged 243.1 points. Running back twos averaged 180.7 points. Running back threes averaged 134.6 points. So you can see, obviously, with any position, there's going to be a drop-off at each level. But for those of you that are saying, I've got some really good options at running back later on, I'm going to go with wide receivers to start. Maybe you don't have as good of options later on as you would with wide receivers. Now, why would that be? Well, because your wide receiver ones last year scored an average of 252.9 points. Your wide receiver 2 scored an average of 190.5 points, and your wide receiver 3s scored an average of 154.9 points. So the difference in scoring between the 3 tiers at the positions, last year, running back scored 9.8 points less at wide receiver 1, 9.8 points less at wide receiver 2, and 20.3 points at running back 3, wide receiver 3. Okay? That is the difference that running backs score later on in the draft. So if you take a running back in the first round, you might be giving up about 9 points or so. But if you take a running back, if you take a running back in the third round over a wide receiver, you're going to be giving up about 20 points. 20 points. That's a big difference, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you that are thinking, I'll take my running back 3 later on, it depends on how long you're waiting to take running backs. Okay? The longer you wait to take running backs, the further you're going to fall into guys scoring running back 2 or running back 3 numbers. So if we can get 2 guys in the running back 1 category And then for wide receiver 2, we get maybe 2 guys in the wide receiver 2 category. That's great. And then later on, instead of scrambling to draft another running back because you're like, oh, I waited too long, here I go, when you could just be like, I got my running backs, I'll take a wide receiver 3 now. Boom, 20.3 point difference there. But I wanted to go back even further. Why? Because that's too small of a sample size. So let's go check out 2020, okay? 2020, last season, running back, or 2 seasons ago, running back 1s averaged 242.1 points. Running back 2s averaged 166.4 points. Running back 3s averaged 134.4 points. So what's the difference from running backs to wide receivers in 2020? Well, wide receiver 1s in 2020 scored 237.3 points, wide receiver 2s 185.9, and wide receiver 3s 159.9 points. What's the difference there? Running back 1s averaged 4.8 points more than our wide receivers did. And our running back 2s had 19.5 points less than wide receiver 2s did. And an even bigger gap here, running back 3s, 134 points, 25.5 points less than wide receiver 3s. I mean, if these aren't numbers that you can take a look at and say, I get it, I understand, then what else would you need? Now, listen, this isn't a one-size-fits-all. If you get into the first round and you've got Jamar Chase, Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson staring you in the face, and you don't really have a running back you like, that's fine. Go with them. But if your thought process going into the draft is, I'm just going to take a wide receiver over a running back because I don't want to deal with possible injuries, that is not going to be a proper draft strategy, because now you're just ignoring numbers from the last couple of years that show you loading up on running backs at the beginning is going to help you, because it is better to find value wide receivers later in the draft than it is to find running backs. I mean, if you take a look, the drop from 242 to 134 is a lot greater than the drop from 237 to 159. It's easier to replace wide receivers later in your draft than it is to replace running backs later in your draft. That is why loading up on running backs to begin the season or to begin your draft, is 100% a viable strategy that a lot of people should be utilizing on a yearly basis. Okay? So for me now, I need to know in the comments, hashtag RB or hashtag wide receiver. Let me know who you want your first round to pick. Who do you want to pick in the first round? Do you want it to be a running back? Hashtag running back, tell me why. If you want to be a wide receiver, hashtag wide receiver, tell me why. And I'm going to pick 2 random people with the hashtag RB or wide receiver in their comment that give me an actual reason why to win a draft guide if this video hits 1,000 likes. So make sure you hit the like button for me if this video hits 1,000 likes. 2 random people from the comments down below that comment hashtag RB or hashtag wide receiver and give me a response as to why you're going with which position in the first round. Okay, so there's a lot of the talk that we've seen this year about running back and wide receiver. Some other talk I've seen is about Derrick Henry. So for another year, I did a video the other day about first round running backs. Who's a must have, who's a must avoid. And just like every other year in the comments I saw, well, I can't draft Derrick Henry. He has no upside. Derrick Henry has no upside. He doesn't catch enough passes. Give me somebody else. But ladies and gentlemen, I mean, we've refuted this the last 2 years. Do we really need to go over this again? Why do we need to draft Derrick Henry? Regardless of the format, why do we need to draft him? And you know what, ladies and gentlemen? We do everything in half PPR, but I decided to do this portion in PPR. Because why? Because there's going to be some PPR guys out there or gals who are going to be like, yeah, well, I play in a PPR league, so this doesn't matter to me. It changes it so much. Nope. You can take your squirrely little voice and just pipe down, because that's not true at all. Last season in 2021, weeks 1 through 8, at the end of week 8, Derrick Henry was the running back one with 193.3 fantasy points in PPR leagues. That was 40.1 points higher than the RB2. In PPR leagues last year, Derrick Henry was the running back one by over 40 points. Let that soak in for just 1 second. Just let it marinate in your brain cells. We go on to week 9. So he got hurt in week 8. Week 9 is when he missed from the rest of the season on. In week 9, after missing week 9, at the end of week 9, he was still the running back one by 6 points. So he missed a game and was still the RB1 by 6 points. So then we get to week 10. He misses another game. He falls out of running back 1 status. But now he's still the running back 2. He was only out of the RB1 position by 17.7 points after missing the next 2 games. So after week 10, when he missed week 9 and week 10, after week 10, he was only behind the RB1 by 17.7 points in full PPR leagues. I don't know how I can emphasize that any more than I already have. So now the question becomes, hey, Kyle, that's great and all, but what does that truly mean? Well, here's another stat for you. When do you think Derrick Henry was officially no longer a running back one last season? So if he played weeks 1 through 8 and then missed week 9 on, when do you think Derrick Henry finally fell out of the top 12 running backs? Ladies and gentlemen, it was week 16. Derrick Henry, after missing every game from week 8 to week 16, remained an RB1 that entire time. After week 16 in full PPR leagues, Derrick Henry finally fell out of the top 12 running backs and only to running back 13. We got to stop this narrative with Derrick Henry that because he doesn't catch a whole lot of passes, he doesn't deserve the upside that some of the other guys do. Because he wasn't catching very many passes last year, and he still dominated all of the running backs around him. Had he played a full season, he would have had another amazing campaign. And the injury that he suffered last season wasn't really an injury that happens when your body starts to break down. It was just a fluke incident. I mean, the dude got his foot stepped on. It's going to happen sometimes. Just the way it happened, it just happened that way, unfortunately. So now we're moving on, right? We're moving on. We're trying to get past this point to say, hey, Derrick Henry, if you want to take him, I mean, Jonathan Taylor is still my RB1. If you want to take Derrick Henry at RB2, just do it. Just do it. Regardless of your format, just take Derrick Henry at RB2. He's still on the younger side, and he's built like really no other running back out there. I mean, what other running back in the National Football League have you seen that is built like Derrick Henry? The dude is an absolute physical monster and specimen. He's not a smaller guy taking a bunch of hits. He doesn't take hits. Derrick Henry hits other people. That's just the way it happens. So we got to get away from this mindset where Derrick Henry just doesn't have the upside, because last season, even though he still doesn't catch a whole lot of passes, no, we got to do it. Another running back that we don't give enough love to, well, we do here on the channel, y'all don't sometimes, some of you do, not all of you, I don't want to lump you all into one group, is Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb is one guy that we probably have the strongest back and forth with on people out there. Because we'll say something in a video about Nick Chubb and they're immediately in the comments trying to say, no, you're wrong. That's not true at all, Kyle. Let's talk about it a little bit. I'm not going to use 2021 numbers because I wanted to see a wider range of outcomes with Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb together. And in 2020, they didn't have as many injuries on the team. Kareem Hunt played in all 16 games that season, and Nick Chubb missed 4 games. All right. So going back to 2020, it allowed me the best view into giving you a wide range of outcomes and being able to pinpoint certain situations a little bit better. If we use 2021 numbers, I believe it kind of skews it a little bit. All right. So I believe, especially with Hunt being hurt last year, missing time, I believe we need to take a look at the time when they were both most readily available. So we're going to go back to 2020. So to begin the season in 2020, their weekly finishes in week 1, Hunt was 26, Chubb was 50. Bad week in week 1, right? Week 2, we bounced back a little bit. Hunt was RB5, Chubb was RB3. In week 3, Hunt falls to RB20, Chubb is at RB7, remains in that running back 1 status. So to begin the year, we're going to give Nick Chubb the green light here, okay? Then Nick Chubb gets hurt. He comes back in week 10, goes through the rest of the season. In week 10, Hunt 13, Chubb 9. In week 11, Hunt 29, Chubb 18. Week 12, 34 for Hunt, 3 for Chubb. 32 for Hunt, 9 for Chubb. 4 for Hunt, 6 for Chubb. 49 for Hunt, 22 for Chubb. 21 for Hunt, 14 for Chubb. 49 for Hunt, 13 for Chubb. One thing I want to point out here real quick. Nick Chubb was an RB1, 6 games that he played that season. Okay? 6 games that he played that season. He was an RB1. 2 of those times, Kareem Hunt was also an RB1. The other 4 times, Kareem Hunt was not an RB1. The only 2 times that Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb were healthy together in 2020, Kareem Hunt was an RB1 twice. Nick Chubb was an RB1 the same exact week. The other 4 weeks that Nick Chubb was an RB1, Kareem Hunt was not. So Kareem Hunt finishes in RB1. That's great. Nick Chubb did as well. And it wasn't that big of a difference, right? Kareem Hunt was 4. Chubb was 6. Kareem Hunt was 5. Chubb was 3. So the average finish for them in 2020, Kareem Hunt, his average finish was at RB25. Nick Chubb's average finish was at RB14. So again, I mentioned Nick Chubb missed a few games that season. Nick Chubb in 2020 finishes the RB9 with 199.7 points, averaging 16.6 fantasy points per game over the course of 12 games. Kareem Hunt finished as the RB10 right behind him. With 199.5 games, or 199.5 points, averaging 12.5 fantasy points per game in 16 games. Of the RB1s that year with Nick Chubb's 16.6 fantasy points per game were higher than the RB12, the RB11, the RB10, the RB9, the RB7, the RB6, and the RB5, and the RB4. There was only 3 running backs inside the top 12 running backs to average more fantasy points per game than Nick Chubb, and it was Kamara, Henry, and Cook, who each averaged more than 20 fantasy points per game. But Nick Chubb doesn't have the upside. Can y'all just stop with it? Can we stop the argument, please? Because Nick Chubb absolutely does have the upside. I'm sorry that Kareem Hunt is there, okay? But it doesn't matter if you draft if you draft Nick Chubb in the first round, you're getting a solid fantasy producer that has a high ceiling every single week, but you also know he's going to get the touches on the ground. It happens all the time. Snap percentages were in Nick Chubb's favor that entire time. There was only 1 week where Kareem Hunt had more snaps than what Nick Chubb did. So this year going into your drafts, when you're all saying, oh, I want the upside. I want the upside. Give me the upside. I want as much upside as possible. So I'm going to draft Najee Harris in 2022 because the dude gets so many passes and gets so many targets and gets so many receptions, and he's the focal point of. In 2020, Nick Chubb, in the games that he played, he finishes an RB1 54% of the time. Last season, in the games that Najee Harris played, he finishes an RB1 52% of the time. Boom! I mean, if that isn't some knowledge that just whacks you right in the face, then I don't know what is. You want to draft Najee Harris? That's great. Go draft Najee Harris. But last season, he finishes an RB1 in less percentage of his games than what Nick Chubb did in 2020. And you want to argue with me about Chubb not having enough upside? Get out of here. We've disproved that argument for 3 straight years now that Nick Chubb doesn't have any upside. So at this point, if you're not drafting Nick Chubb because of that, I'm sorry, you don't understand. You don't get it. Because it's not true. You want to argue about Nick Chubb? Well, Deshaun Watson's probably gonna end up being suspended, so he's not gonna have that great of a quarterback. Are you telling me that rookie Kenny Pickett or Mitchell Trubisky are gonna be that great, that much better than what Jacoby Brissett will be, or who knows? Maybe even Baker Mayfield. He's still there. Baker Mayfield is still there. Heck, he might have to go back out there this season. I don't know. You really telling me that rookie Kenny Pickett or Mitchell Trubisky is better than that option? Well, they've improved the offensive line. You really think the offensive line for the Pittsburgh Steelers is going to be that much better than the Cleveland Browns? Nope. Yes, Najee Harris will get more work in the passing game. It will happen. It will. But it doesn't mean that Nick Chubb will not be right there with him at the end of the season, because Nick Chubb, the way he plays, how good he is, his ability to create big plays, yards on the ground, break away from tackles, break away from defenders, snap off big plays. It's second to almost none. Second to almost none in the NFL. Nick Chubb, if Kareem Hunt wasn't there, nobody would be batting an eyelash. But Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb survived together. In fact, when Kareem Hunt's an RB1 in 2020, so is Nick Chubb. So where's the upside argument there? Don't do these things, Headliner Nation. Don't do these things. Don't go into your draft with this predetermined thought process that could keep you from drafting really good players just because you've got something in your head where you're like, oh, I've heard this from another channel, or, oh, I see it with my own eyes. What's that? What's everything you just saw on your screen? I'm just trying to help you out, Headliner Nation. If you don't want it, don't take it. Okay? But if you go into your draft predetermined, thinking any way that we just talked about here, 2022 is probably not going to be that great for you. Okay? At least think about it when it comes to your draft and use this thought process a little bit and then determine what is going to be the best for you. Make sure you hit that like button for me. Remember, if we get 1,000 likes on the video today, I'm going to pick 2 people in the comments down below to win a free draft guide. I talked about it in the middle of the video, what you need to do to be eligible for that. So make sure you follow those guidelines there. If you're new here to the Fantasy Headliners, subscribe for me and stick around because it's only the end of June and we're already going gangbusters right now. You don't want to miss anything. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to get out of here. All of you stay safe and stay healthy. Remember, don't do this on draft day. I'll catch y'all in the next episode of the Fantasy Headliners.
Analytics off the chain, other channels not the same. Jake and Kyle, you know the name. Headliner Nation, we running the game. Y'all stuck on third down. Your content's plain Jane. Headliners on top now. We gonna move and change. Podcast off the rip. Draft guide, so legit. Fantasy world, our game tight. You know we about that Chubb life. Stuck in a rut and you need some motivation. Head to the channel for this Headliner Nation.
I'm a headliner.